like consistent like 10K above months.
Downloaded it, I checked the date, July of 2021, and then I left my job in September of 2021.
Since then, I've sold websites, I've pivoted my business, I'm no longer doing social media management.
What has been like your highest month?
13K.
It has literally changed my life.
When you were designing on WordPress, were you charging way less? Like, what is that like?
Yeah, way less. I think my first WordPress was like $500.
$500 for a WordPress site versus like up to $5,000 for a show it site.
All right, welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Today we have Francesca with us, who I'm so excited to chat with. Francesca is a web designer based in North Carolina that has closed an insane project working with a really, really cool company and getting clients in really fun and unique ways. Francesca, welcome. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here and definitely excited to share all my stories throughout my web design career.
Yay. Yeah. Do you want to give us a high-level overview of what Francesca is all about, what you were maybe doing before web design and now what your business looks like?
Yeah, so I originally started off my career in the fashion industry. So from, I would say, 2003 to about 2016 was when I left the fashion industry. I worked in, corporate environments, and I had always loved what I was doing. I loved being creative, and I worked in visual merchandising, which is essentially product placement. I created window displays for luxury retailers. So it was a really fun job, but it was in corporate environments. And I always knew that I wanted to do something on my own. I didn't know exactly what kind of business I wanted to start, but I knew I wanted to do something that was mine, that I created myself. And so towards the end of my career in fashion, I had to take some time to think about like what it is that I wanted to do, like what kind of business did I want to create. And I had several ideas for different things, but it eventually got to a point where, I was in that cutthroat environment, living in New York City, working for like a really crazy fashion designer, have a ton of stories about, all the crazy things he asked me to do, very like Devil Wears Prada kind of situation I was in.
Love that.
But I was doing a lot of like inner work, personal development work, and really trying to figure it out. And in around 2016, I read the book, The 4-Hour Workweek.
Mm-hmm.
That was a book that really changed things for me, because that book teaches you that you don't have to defer happiness until you are retired, right? Like it talks about this life plan that a lot of people buy into, which is work for a company for decades, and then all you're really doing to one day be happy is, save for retirement. And then by the time you're like in your 70s or 80s, that's when you can maybe start to have any kind of like freedom or travel or do anything. So the book is pretty much telling you like you don't have to defer happiness to that point in time. You don't have to live that kind of life plan. You can find a way to be happy today. And he talks about just having your own business, right? Like having a digital nomad type of lifestyle where you can create the business that works for you, that helps you have the lifestyle that you want to have. So that book definitely changed things for me. I ended up shortly after reading that book, quitting my job, having really no safety net at all. Like I had savings, sure, but I had no like job prospects or like really anything. I was so kind of at my wit's end. And right around the time that I quit my job, I had designed a website for an organization that I was a member of. So I was a member of an organization called Toastmasters, which is like a public speaking club.
Okay.
And they had asked me to be like the vice president of public relations. And so, like, when I took on that role, I just thought to myself, well, why don't I just build a website for our club? And I'd never built a website before. I was just like, all right, maybe, just as my first responsibility of VPPR, why don't I build a website? So I just kind of Googled, like, how to build a website, and like learned pretty much on my own. And that first website was just a project that I really loved, absolutely loved everything about it, just the autonomy of it, the creativity of it. And so that's when I kind of realized, like, maybe I should consider this because I enjoy it, I'm good at it. It comes pretty naturally to me, having already, gone to art school and been in a creative field. And that's really how it all started.
Wow. I love that so much. I'm always so inspired with someone who started in the corporate realm, and really you go into corporate for like security and financial purposes. Like no one's going into corporate to like fuel their passions and build freedom and all of that. It's really just security and financial purposes. And when there becomes this like unlocked portal in your mind where you're like, wow, maybe I actually could have both of those elements plus fulfillment, passion, freedom, time freedom, all of the things. And when I think so many people now have caught on, but to actually do it and take action and leave your job, leave the security of the job and start it, it's so inspiring. And one, I just want to say I'm so proud of you, because I think there's so many people that are on that like ledge, like they want to, maybe they've read 4 Hour Work Week and they're like, wow, that'd be a dream. But it ends there. And the fact that you were able to acknowledge that that's a possibility and be like, you know what? Like, why could I not do that? I'm going to do it. I'm going to quit my job. It's so incredible. And I think it's such a cool testament to what's possible out there. Like people don't truly understand until they're doing it. And then it's like, wow, I can't believe I sacrificed my time for so long. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And what's really interesting about that is that, like, by the time I left in 2016, I'd been at, working for that particular designer for a good like 5 years. I kind of knew like a couple months into it that like something was off, that this is like maybe not the best environment for me, but I stayed out of security, right? Like I stayed because mentally I was like, there were so many reasons why I felt like I didn't have any options. I sort of felt like, well, I went to school for fashion design, so I have to make this work. Or, I couldn't think of anything outside of the career that I was in, right? It just to me at the time it felt like, well, I've already done this for so long. What else could I possibly do?
Yeah.
And how could I just couldn't wrap my head around doing something outside of this thing that I had committed to, even though that thing was like killing me inside, right? Like there was this, there were so many things that were just, I wasn't able to express the creativity that I wanted to express in the work that I was doing. There were just so many like reasons that it wasn't an environment where I could thrive.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I started working for myself that I just felt an immediate amount of happiness with the freedom and autonomy that I have with being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's really incredible. It's funny because I was just talking to another student who worked at Amazon, so Fortune 500 company, and read the 4 hour or 4 day
4 Hour Work Week.
4 hour work week. No, 4 day work week. It's 4 day.
It's 4 hour.
Isn't it 4 day?
4 hour.
Oh,
There might be, he has written a couple of books. I think there's the 4 Hour Body, and I think he uses the brand for a couple of different variations, but it's 4 hour work week.
Okay, I have always referenced it as 4 day, thinking like Fridays were off because that's what I want. But 4 hour work week, she referenced that book as well. And she said she read it and she once she took the courses, she quit Amazon within like 7 months. But she was also describing that it was really hard when she was in it to think outside the box. And we made this connection that when you work corporate, they define your linear path so strategically because they don't want us to think outside the box. It doesn't do well. And then it trains us to think, oh, we only can stay here. Like if you have a marketing job, the only way for you to grow is to get a higher level marketing job. It's never like you're in a company and they're motivating you to think outside the box. And do you like marketing? Maybe you could do creative. Maybe you could do sales. Like, no, they trap you in this box. And I think it conditions our brain to only think of what we see and what we know, but it's not the case. Like there's so much room outside of what you know that you can even apply your skills in unique ways to another industry or another skill that I wish everyone could realize that and acknowledge that.
I think that that's one of the coolest parts about being in like our little online space world is that you do get the exposure into so many things, so many ways where like, let's say you're offering web design and you're like, wow, I'm actually like not feeling the whole website, but I really like sales pages. Like you can go in that direction. Or if you're like, oh, I actually really like branding. Like I feel like the exposure that you get as an entrepreneur actually allows you to like your path to meander through so many different services that you can offer, so many different things that can like grow with you rather than feeling like a consistent ceiling or a consistent wall that you're running up against.
Yeah.
I'm curious from the point of 2020, you said you did your website for the organization. What was it that really picked up or mindset shift or anything that took you from that to like having a web design business, taking the courses, investing into yourself and all of that?
Yeah, so I had a very slow and steady growth.
Okay.
From 2016 to today, that's almost like 8 years.
Yeah.
So I would say that there were several different points where I was able to make mindset shifts and be able to change things in the business and then eventually find Becca's courses, which absolutely changed a lot of really important things for the business. So I would say that like between 2016 and maybe 2018 was when I maybe started taking things a little more seriously, right? So like my first website was a barter.
Yeah.
It was like, and I was lucky enough to know a friend in my world who was a life coach. So she had a life coaching business and she wanted a website for the life coaching business. So in exchange for the website, she coached me on how I could like start the business. And this was like before, like right after I left the corporate world, before I actually had any like clients or anything. I was just terrified of jumping into it. So she just like, you know, on like a weekly basis, we would have these like coaching sessions, and it's really interesting to look back on just the person that I was then, because I was terrified. Like I just had a ton of reasons for why I didn't think I could succeed, or why it wouldn't work, or why it would be hard, or, you know, and then even just a year after that, 2 years after that, you know, it's interesting to see how much you actually can do when you just put one foot in front of the other, like, because everyone's going to have to contend with their fears throughout their career. And it's not like it really stops. It's just that like you just get better and better at not being so afraid of these blocks or these things that just prevent you from moving forward. So yeah, I would say like the first block was just like, you know, can I even do this, right? So then I would say maybe around 2020 was when I learned the importance of niching. So that's when I really dove into like learning from other web designers. So before that, I had taken plenty of courses on entrepreneurship and different types of facets of the business. But eventually I realized like I'm gonna learn a lot more from someone that's in my world, right? Yeah. So I worked with Rand Siegel, who teaches Flux Academy. Fantastic program. And so that's when I really like got even more serious about doing things right, niching, and getting really clear about how I can grow the business. So by the time I find your courses, I had been wanting to have a template shop for many, many years. I'd always seen like all of the other show it designers that have template shops, and it just seemed like, I knew the importance of passive income. So I got really serious about wanting to open up a template shop. I think I Googled show a template shop course or something, and then you came up. And what is really cool about your courses is that when I compared them to like other courses that were out there, because I've taken several courses on template shops. The thing that a lot of other course creators do not teach is how to market the template shop, right? Which is like such a huge part of having a template shop.
Maybe more than half of it.
Yeah.
So before I even bought your course, I had taken at least two other courses. They weren't show it specific, but they were still applicable, right? So both of them were how to create a shop, but neither of them taught me how to market the shop. So, and there were still other course creators in the show it space, right? That I was like thinking about considering. Those courses cost like, quite a bit of money. And I ended up like not buying them because I thought like, how am I gonna, that's the biggest challenge is being able to reach your customer and be able to market and sell the templates.
Yeah, totally.
So that's essentially like what I found really great about all your courses. Like even the like wealthy web designer is essentially like how to market yourself.
Yep.
So I really appreciated that you had that very critical piece of education in your courses.
Yeah, I love that. I think marketing is people's scariest thing too. Like when they think about the fear, there's a small portion of what is my family going to think? What are my friends going to think? What are like, what's my boss going to think? All of that. But then really when it comes down to it, it's like, how am I going to market myself? Am I going to show up on social media? Am I going to go like do door to doors? They're like, they go into panic mode and they're like, I don't know how to do it. But I think what's really cool about you is that you kind of found your lane.
Exactly.
And I want to dig more into that because I think people, obviously I have been a social media brand. And so that's my expertise. That's what I've taught. But I also fully acknowledge that there's so many other ways to land clients and market yourself. And something that's so unique about you that I really want to hone in on is the in-person networking and finding people in person, because I think so many people have that potential and just don't really truly understand the power of it. So tell me, I kind of already know, but so everyone who's listening can know, how did you land your in-person clients? Like, what did you do? And then what did it look like?
So in 2019 was also kind of a pivotal year for me because I had quite a bit of luck from just knowing people in my world that needed a website, but it still wasn't really enough to be able to like generate the kind of revenue that one can live on, right? So in 2019, I almost gave up web design because I was so like, I had that big question mark of like, how do I get clients? Like, how do I even do this? So there are a few interesting stories that happened in that year. So I guess the winter of 2018, I was in this coaching program, not going to name whose coaching program, but it was run by this guy who ran like $1 billion business, right? And the concept of the coaching program was like how to get through your blocks when it came to, generating abundance and wealth and building a business and what have you. And so at some point during like this program, there was like a a group coaching call where you could ask the coach a question. And so at some point I'd kind of asked this question that was like to the effect of like, so like how do I get clients for my business?
Yeah.
And he's a super nice guy, but he was very much like, he's like, all right, I'm gonna give you like a dose of like tough love. Like if you're asking me this question, like it means that you don't know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, ouch, like it's not every day that you have like, billion-dollar business owner tell you that you don't know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So I took the experience well and was like, okay, if I don't know what I'm doing, then I have to learn how to
How to
do
do it.
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
So at that point, I kind of dove into a lot of education. Definitely looked at a lot of like Chris Doe's content online. He's got pretty good like content when it comes to building web design business and all of that. And then I also just partnered with people who at the time were successful agency owners that I knew in my world. And within like 3 months of having been told that I don't know what I'm doing, I eventually landed my first $10,000 client, right?
Love
So
it.
that I guess, like to answer your question partially, like that was me maximizing my network, not necessarily like
Yeah.
getting the client through my network, but getting the help that I needed from people who know what they're doing that can
Yeah.
kind of walk me through like how to land a client.
Totally.
Yeah.
And now if I'm remembering correctly, you do some networking at your country club or a country club that you guys go to. Walk us through how you came into the conversation and then closed what was over $100,000 client and how that came to life.
Yeah, so that same year, 2019, was when I started going to the location in my town. So I live in Raleigh and I was attending City Club Raleigh, which is a country club, a networking club. And I this is I don't want to be like too long-winded about this, but like I want to like just like lay down the foundation of it all, right? So I'm going to City Club Raleigh, doing my web design work there. And it's also one of those places where like it's easy to get into conversations with other business owners and maybe they need websites.
Yeah.
I also happened to be, this was before I met my husband, right? So I had just broken up with my previous boyfriend and was single and was at the bar at City Club Raleigh, and in walks an attractive man that doesn't have a wedding ring, right? And so at the time I was like, this never happens. Everybody in Raleigh is in a relationship. Let me see if I can go talk to this person because I need to get out and date. Turns out he and his colleague work for a healthcare company, and I was chatting them up, trying to, like see if I could get the attractive guy to ask me out on a date. And I ran out of time. Like I had to like go. So I just gave them my business card. And it turns out that one of them passed along my information to somebody at their company. And that's how I landed the client that is my biggest client today.
I love that.
Wow.
That's like a story.
Yeah, that really is. I loved the foundation of it too. Did you end up going on a date?
We did. Not right away. So first off, like the question is like, did the guy ever call? Not right away. But I think somehow like when he found out that I had like, had gotten in contact with the marketing director, that like he remembered to call. We went on a date. Didn't work out, but it was all good.
Yeah.
I love that.
You landed a date and $100,000 website package.
Oh, right.
That's
Yeah.
a flex. Yeah. So what was the package like? Would you break down like what the investment was and the deliverables? People will be so curious on that.
Right. So I developed this relationship with the marketing director at this healthcare company, and we work on several projects. And eventually, you know, they realized that all of their locations, right? They've got 45 locations of assisted living facilities, that they want to redo the websites for all of those
Mhm.
locations. So um, they talked to me about it. And at the time, it was kind of scary to do such a big project because I had to do the proposal for it. And I am also one of those people who tend to like undercharge
Yep.
for work. So what was great about this marketing director was that, the first proposal I put out, she was like, I think this is just a starting number, right? Like, we're gonna need, because what she was telling me was that they're not going to take me seriously
Yeah.
unless I give them a bigger number.
Yep.
Hmm.
So that was interesting. And I'm glad I had her kind of on my side in that situation, right?
Yes.
But yeah, we had a discussion, over the course of a few weeks, and I eventually found the confidence to put in a number that made sense. So that project ended up being $104,000 for 45 websites. And then I also charged for maintenance because these were WordPress websites. So overall, with the website build and the maintenance of those websites, that was a $130,000 project.
So
Wow. So
insane.
yeah, seriously.
That's
amazing.
definitely the highest package that I think we've ever had on a student interview. And so cool to also see that, like, relatively, I'm sure there's so much complexity, especially being on WordPress and doing all of that. But, like, relatively, when you describe it like that, it's a pretty simple deliverable and a pretty simple package. And so cool that that can come from what was supposed to almost just be a conversation that led into a date.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Like, that's so cool.
Well, the other thing that really lends itself to the students in this community is that that project was based on a template, right?
Mhm.
So when we talked about this 45 facility project, right? We agreed that I would design one template for that would be like the master template.
Yep.
And then for the 45 facilities, I'm using that template as the groundwork for the design layout and then
Yep.
Yeah.
making adjustments based on the brand.
Yep.
Mhm.
And so, yes, it still involves some work, but it's not like I was designing 45 custom sites. The semi-custom part of it is what really helped both of us. It helped the client, it helped me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think overall it ended up being a great project.
Yeah, it's so cool. I'm so proud of you.
Honestly.
I'm curious, what would you say to someone who's listening who maybe has been watching and they want to become a web designer, or they have maybe already tiptoed in and they've started, but they really want to go all in on their business? What kind of advice would you give them?
I would say to definitely do it because web design has brought me so much autonomy, freedom. I've been able to build a really great business from it. And just the courses that you have are incredible. So when I ended up buying the course, I bought the bundle, right? So I bought like the five,
Mm-hmm.
the five course bundle. And what I think is so great about these courses, there are a few things. The first thing is that you are so concise in how you deliver the content, right? I've taken a ton of courses and not everyone is so, people can be really long-winded. They can give you like 100 modules and you're like, okay, like I just, it can be
Yeah.
hard. What
Yeah.
you did in all your courses, I was very impressed with how concisely you delivered the information. Um, and really, like, all of them are so great. I think the one that made the biggest difference for my business was the designer day rate.
Mm,
I had no intention of actually taking that course because, like I said,
interesting. Okay.
I bought the bundle just because
Yeah.
I wanted the passive passion project, the one that
Okay.
teaches how to build a template shop, and wealthy web designer because I knew I needed to have more systematized marketing.
Yep.
Yeah.
My whole intention was to just take those two courses and, feel like even that was more than enough to get me
Yeah.
on the right path. But
Yeah.
I think what happened was I think I was listening to your podcast. You kept talking about the day rate. So I was like, let me just, because honestly, I could not wrap my head around designing a website in a day.
Yeah. Most
Not at
people
all.
can't.
Not at all. And so I was like, it's not like I doubted that you did that. I just was like, I don't know that I can do that. And I don't know that I could deliver a quality product in a day. But I
Mm,
was like, let me take the course because I'm just curious. Like, how is
Yeah.
she designing a website in a day? And so once I took the course, I was like, oh, this
mm,
is like, it's basically just a 4 to 6 week, what I would do in 4 to 6 weeks, just streamlined in a day. And it made so
yeah.
much sense. And once
Yeah.
I learned it, I was like, of course I'm gonna offer this. This is incredible. Um, so I've been really happy with delivering my packages with that. I don't even do custom work anymore because
Amazing.
it's just yeah, I don't yeah, I just I the clients love it. It's a very just no-brainer offer. Like once I
Yeah.
explain it to people, we've got this streamlined service. So I offer website in 2 days. I split
Okay.
mine into 2 days. And then I also offer, so a 5-page website in 2 days, a 10-page website in 5 days, website
Yep.
in a week. And yeah, by the time I'm on a call with a client or, a prospect wanting to learn more about it, when I explain to them the whole thing, they're like, of course yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
I
so
love that.
different than the normal, what can feel archaic and like a 10-week turnaround. It's a long time. And if you're a business owner and you want to make some action with making this investment, you want it to be done quickly. And I think 2 days I actually like a lot. I I've been the backside of a website in a day and website in a week and things like that. And it's funny because I feel like the website in a day is so good for so many people, but then you get people like me that need to just a little bit more time to process. And then the 2 days, 5 days is actually like perfect because you
Yeah.
can sit on it for a night or whatever. So I'm so glad that you
Totally.
have found that rhythm that you like and are building an insanely cool business. I feel like the autonomy is there. You clearly have the potential where the in person, the social can connect. I'm curious to round things out. What's in the future for you?
well, I have had so much success with the website in 2 days and website in a week offering that I'm going to continue to focus on that. And I am headed to 20K months, really. I mean,
Yes.
just the way that I'm able to break that down now, like the idea of making 20,000 a month before just seemed like, how could I possibly do that? Especially when you're doing 4 to 6 week websites, right?
Yeah.
Logistically, I couldn't see how that would be possible. But now that everything is streamlined, I can offer 3 websites a month at on an
Yes.
average 7,000 per website, and there's 21,000.
Seriously.
Um, so things are absolutely moving in that direction. I am so like on the cusp of getting there. And then I also have soft launched my template shop. So that I think in time will allow me to expand upon the success that I have with the website in 2 days, website in a week offers.
Yeah. That's so exciting. I love it. Well, where can people come hang out with you on social media? Because I know for a fact people will be so inspired by you and want to connect with you.
You can find me on Instagram at Ethos by Design. There's a little underscore at the end of it.
Okay.
Um, and they can also visit me on my website, ethosbydesign.com.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. And also everyone who's listening, we'll have it all linked down below so you can go connect with her and check out website, Instagram, all the things. And with that, thank you. And we'll see you guys next episode.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.